Okay, I'm really pleased to welcome Dani Llewellyn on stage. Dani is a long-standing member of the Ubuntu community, someone who has helped drive it, has been part of it for a long time. She sits on the membership board that serves the community's application process. Dani, I'll leave it with you. Please welcome Dani.
I haven't prepared this, so it's going to be very rough. So this is getting started with the community. So your first contributions, basically, and where you want to contribute to. And my slides aren't progressing. There we go. Okay, so my background. I've been using Linux since the 90s. I've got a lot of experience in various fields. Regularly, I use all three major operating systems, so Windows, Mac, and Linux. Until 2016, so between 2005 and 2016, I wasn't really involved in the community very much. And since 2016, I got heavily involved pretty much after the end of the Ubuntu Touch project. I migrated to Snaps at that point. So my primary contributions, obviously Snaps, WSL2 and Ubuntu Mate, thanks to Martin. I've been a member now, an Ubuntu member since February 2018, and later that year I got elected to the membership board where I now approve new members. And last year, Microsoft gave me an MVP award. Sorry, is that better? Yeah, my MVP award was for WSL-related contributions. So who wants to contribute? That's supposed to be animated, but never mind. So to get started in the community, you will really need a Ubuntu sign-on account, the login.ubuntu.com. So once you've done that, I really recommend joining your local community, or locos as we call them. So I've got some instructions up there to help you through. I won't go through those because we haven't got much time, because Mark was obviously very inspiring. And you should really join IRC as well. I know that IRC is old, but a lot of Ubuntu related discussion happens on IRC, and that's on Libera chat. You should join the Discourse. So that's at discourse.ubuntu.com. We use that to discuss overall project direction that is more long form than IRC allows. And remember, it's not a support forum. So don't go there to ask questions about how to use Ubuntu. You want to use this other support avenues for that if that's what you need. So IRC, again, there's channels, there's the Ubuntu Hideout, and forum.ubuntu.com, I believe. And Ask Ubuntu. Thank you, Martin. Documentation is also on Discourse. And hopefully, if the people that created a particular document have done their job correctly, then it will be set as a wiki, so anyone who has a Discourse account can edit them. I mentioned IRC. There's some IRC clients listed there, including IRC Cloud, which I package, and the Lounge, which I also package. But there's also Hex Chat and Conversation, which are better integrated into the GNOME for Hex Chat and Conversation for KDE. So once you've done all that, we can contribute. Hooray! But first, how did I get started? I was a long time lurker on RC. Pretty much since I got into the community, so around 2005, I've been on RC, particularly in the Ubuntu UK chat room, which is the Loco for the United Kingdom. There I met Alan and Martin, who are formerly Canonicalers, and they really helped me get involved in the community directly. Once the Ubuntu phone project started waning, Snapcraft really piqued my interest, particularly as Popey moved from Ubuntu Touch advocacy to Snapcraft advocacy at that time. And I kind of followed suit. I wanted to learn it, and I found a package that I wanted to an app that I wanted to package. That was HexChat, actually, which I've just mentioned. I learned as much as I could while I was packaging that app, but while it was educational, it wasn't a complex app to package. I published that, and, well, the snowball continued. So let's get on to how you can contribute. The first area I'm going to discuss is writing. If you can write technical documentation, that would be awesome, because we always need more documentation. The places that the documentation are most likely to be found are the Ubuntu Discourse, which I've mentioned. There's a direct link to the topic tag on the slide. There's also the Snapcraft forum. It runs the same software as the Discourse. So again, anything that is published in the docs category should be marked as a wiki, so anyone with an account can edit them. And then there's the Ubuntu wiki. This is old and legacy, and it's quite difficult to use because it's slow. There is a lot of documentation still on there, and a lot of it is outdated, so if you can update it, please do. However, caveat, you need to contact Philip, I believe, to get access to the Ubuntu Wiki Editor's Launchpad group, which means you need a Launchpad account. You can contact the admins via the Launchpad link that I've included on the slide. That will go to several people, and one of them will approve you, presumably, I hope. Art and design. If you are an artist, again, we really need your help. The theme, which Ubuntu uses and several of the flavors use, is Yaru. This is a community-led project. It's not sponsored by Canonical in any way, I don't think. They contribute, they organize their development on GitHub. The link is on the slide. From there, there's also the flavors. They love artwork, especially at the new releases. So every 6 months, they want new backgrounds for their desktops to keep things fresh. Quite often, they have competitions to be included. I know Ubuntu Mate has included community-led backgrounds before. There's also design. If you can help improve and provide mock-ups for improvements to apps that are included in the flavors, that would be brilliant. I'm sure they would really appreciate that. I think that's everything on that slide. Technical support. Again, ask Ubuntu. Martin was right, obviously. The Ubuntu forums, IRC on #Ubuntu is the main support channel on Libera Chat. And there's the Discord called Ubuntu Hideout. There's an invite link there. And the Discord app is available as a Snap package handled by the Snapcrafters community. We're making good time. If you're good at organization, your Loco will love you. There's also, if you're good at organizing, triaging bugs is actually a good way to contribute. So you don't have to necessarily be technical to do this. So you fill in missing information if you can. Otherwise, making sure that a bug is assigned to the appropriate project is really helpful to the developers. So even if you don't have coding skills, you can help by making sure that the bug submitter has provided all the information that they can. You can try to elicit more information if you feel that there's not enough for the developers. And again, making sure that it's assigned to the correct projects would be really helpful. Promotion. So social media obviously is key. If you can create promotional material, I'm sure projects around the community would love you again. There's also locally, you can advocate amongst your peers, especially in your locos if possible. And also among people that don't know about Ubuntu yet. So maybe in your workplace, in your local community centers, anywhere that you feel that people would benefit from Ubuntu, just spread the word. And there is a gap in the market now. We need a podcast. Martin and Alan, they used to work with Mark, was it, Mark? They used to run the Ubuntu podcast, which formed out of the Ubuntu UK podcast. And unfortunately, life changes meant that they had to discontinue. If you decide to do a podcast, don't reuse their work. They have a great legacy in the community, so it would be nice if we respect that. Oh, I've gone too far. If we respect that, and if you do a podcast, make sure it's your own thing rather than trying to acquire goodwill off of reusing their work. Here we get into the development stuff. If you're a programmer or a coder, snap packages, obviously I'm going to be interested in those. If you can get involved in the snap community, that would be brilliant. We obviously need more packages. There's a lot of apps out there that just aren't packaged yet. And the small Snapcrafters community just doesn't have the workforce to be able to do it ourselves. You could join the Snapcrafters, actually. Then you can also, if snaps aren't interesting to you, you could try debugging and fixing bugs. So we've mentioned triaging bugs. If you're a developer, you can try to fix them. And if you want to contribute in more significant ways, make sure you get onto the Ubuntu developers on IRC. So they usually hang out in Ubuntu Devil, Ubuntu Desktop, and Ubuntu Server on the Bearer chat. Are there any others that I've missed? There's probably Foundations as well, Ubuntu Foundations channel. Oh, that's in Ubuntu Devil, is it? Okay, thank you. Aha, Ubuntu-release? Yeah, so if you want to help coordinate the releases every 6 months, then going into Ubuntu release will help out. Make sure you contact the incumbent developers in the channels that you join so that you don't duplicate any work they're already doing. Now we get on to the fun bit, gamification. I've relaunched, that's a better word. I've relaunched a project started many years ago by Jono Bacon, who is a name you may have heard. He used to be community engagement in the Canonical many years ago. And as part of that, he created Ubuntu Accomplishments along with Stuart Langridge, I believe. That was based on the Ubuntu One file storage. So when that went away, Unfortunately, the program stopped working. I have resurrected it and completely rewritten it. It's very rough. It's been my own project. I've had no help, so it's very rough right now. So I would really love people to join in the community and help me out. So I've got installation instructions on the Snapcraft site. Again, it's a snap only because I'm obviously very invested in snaps. And once installed, it runs in the background. You don't need to keep the app open, and it constantly checks for new contributions that you provide and grants you a trophy that in the future I will enable you to share so that you can showcase your work in the community. And we've got a nice screenshot of the available accomplishments. There's a lot more on that screen than visible. So it's written in Flutter. So any Flutter people, really come along, help me out. The trophies themselves are handled by Python scripts. So if you want to contribute, I'm making good time, so we've got time for Q&A. If you want to contribute, I'm on GitHub. So the Ubuntu Accomplishments organization. We've got several repositories there. We've got a daemon, which is what runs in the background. If you want to contribute to that, that requires coding skills, and that is basically a user daemon that runs in a user session. It's written in Dart, so any Dart knowledgeable people would be very helpful. There's the viewer, again, written in Dart. If you're a programmer, that would help. It's also uses Flutter, so UI developers would be very helpful. Then there's the snapping recipe. That's fairly simple. That just pulls everything together. The meat of the work are the Python scripts in the next two repositories, the community accomplishments and the desktop accomplishments. You don't necessarily need to code for that. We do need translations and updating of the instructions included in those. So the documentation is in the path listed and the code is in the scripts directory. And I use transifex to ensure that the translations are correctly applied and handled and were monitored, basically. So that's all I've got for getting involved. So where you can find me, I'm Diddle Dani pretty much everywhere. I'm on the Discourse, the Snapcraft forum. I've got lots of GitHub repositories on Diddle Snaps. They're all my Snapcraft related work. My Diddle Dani organization, that's my own personal profile. There's lots of random stuff there. And then obviously the Ubuntu accomplishments. I'm Diddle Dani on Twitter. I'm Diddle Dani at mastodon.lol. And I'm looking for work. So if you want to employ me, that'd be really good. So that's the end. We've got just about 6-7 minutes for Q&A if anyone's got any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dani. For the questions, if you can raise your hand and wave at the folks who have got the dice so that they know where to come next, that would be really helpful for us. So.
Yeah, Dari, this is Bhavani from, I'm a former Ubuntu developer and I was on the Loco Council for 2011 to 2017. One thing I wanted to add to that Loco ecosystem, what you explained, the Loco team and the Loco pages and the entire Loco thing needs restructuring and a lot of contributions. And the page also needs updation. So if anyone is interested in all these things, they are welcome to contribute.
Sorry, I didn't really catch that. It's too much echo. Can you ask again?
Yeah, so the actual Loco portal is like is not maintained from past 5 years, I guess,
Yes.
actively. And if there is someone who is interested in all these loco related activities, they can come forward and they can actually contribute actively in verifying all the loco teams and going through the loco process. That's what I wanted to add.
So the Loco Portal itself is written in Python. It
Yeah.
needs updating. I've actually submitted several years ago some updates and they never got merged, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They're still open. The list themselves, I think that's handled via Launchpad. So effectively any team in Launchpad that is in the Ubuntu Loco meta group will be listed on the Loco portal. So it's up to the teams themselves to make sure that they're removed if they're no longer active or added if they're active but not listed.
But the entire portal needs a rehaul like what you did for Ubuntu Accomplishments, basically.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
The entire Loco portal needs a rehaul like the same way you did for Ubuntu Accomplishments.
Did anyone else catch that? I see, yes. So that'd be really good. It would require someone who can handle the merges with the Loco portal. I don't have access to that, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have merged my own commits. I don't know who's involved with the Loco portal anymore. Unfortunately, it seems like it's abandoned.
I was involved till 2017. After that, it got completely stopped, unfortunately. And I'll check if I have the access till now, and I'll provide the access to someone who is interested.
Me now? Hey, stand up. Okay. Hi, I'm
Hiya.
Tiago from Portugal. I have an update for one of your slides because the world of Ubuntu Podcasts has a gap, but it's smaller because me and Diogo have a regular podcast. You just have to learn some Portuguese to understand it. From time to time, we have some international guests, so we speak in English, but it's mostly in Portuguese.
Okay.
We try our best. And I have a question. Why wasn't the recently or in future relaunch of Launchpad announced? Why wasn't the Karma Launchpad referenced in any of your slides?
I don't like the karma system. It doesn't really work.
Okay.
I could have put it in. I left my slides very much to the last minute, so I probably just forgot. So I can talk quickly about the karma. Every action that you do on Launchpad will give you a karma point. I think there's different amounts depending on what activity there is that you do. It can be helpful, but it's really just an arbitrary number. For example, people that do translations, I believe every single translation string is a separate karma point. Whereas people that are coding, they can't get anywhere near that high level of karma points, despite having an equal contribution.
Okay, we have time for one more brief question. Try and keep it as brief as possible. I'm not sure who was next, but you've got the box, so go ahead.
Hi, Danny. Thank you. You're on from Israel. I think that teaching vloggers how to code or design would be very hard, but teaching developers how to make a vlog or even a live Twitch or something about their work will benefit the community and both the coder in a way that we're essentially creating a social media content without trying to create a social media content.
That's a good point. Yeah, if you want to blog, or if you know how to blog but you're not a coder yourself, you could try to get involved with other developers to help them learn how to blog. That would be really helpful. Having a lot of information out of developers about their own work can be very helpful to inspire others. So it's a very good point that teaching developers how to blog would be very helpful. So if you're an expert blogger, then do.
Sadly, not yet.
Fit a question and answer in 50 seconds, then somebody can do it. Go.
Hey, David.
Hello.
Hi, I work with OpenSearch. So I just had a quick question. You mentioned that contributions to the old wiki are welcome, but it's slow and outdated.
Yes.
Is there a project to migrate that over to Discourse, or?
There is. That was started by Monica, I believe, who has now left the company. There is an effort to move everything across that is still relevant to Discourse. That is taking its time. There's a lot of content there to be moved, and a lot of it needs to be weeded out because it is so out of date, it's no longer relevant.
Thank you, everyone, but thank you especially, Dani. Thank you, Dani.